Mom wanted me to give her a lake house for her 60th. I handed her another gift, which she threw in the trash. She said, "You're completely useless." So I left and gave it to my stepmom. When Mom saw what was in the box, she started, "Well, don't forget to visit our store, thanks. My name is Ellison and I'm 32 years old. I work as a leading expert at a cosmetology company that makes expensive professional cosmetics. The pay is really good enough that I bought my own apartment 2 years ago. Now I'm thinking about something bigger, a country house by the lake where I can relax on weekends and holidays. The idea has been eating at me for weeks. I can picture myself sitting on a deck, looking out at the water, finally having a place that's completely mine to unwind. Work gets crazy sometimes, and the city noise never stops. A lake house would be perfect. I decided to tell my family about this plan over dinner. Situation is a bit complicated, so let me explain. My parents divorced when I was 12. After that, I lived 2 months with my father, then 2 months with my mother, back and forth like that. It was exhausting, honestly. Dad got married again just 1 year after the divorce. His new wife, Jolene, became my stepmother, and she had a son named Dax, who was 4 years younger than me. I was 13 when they got together, and Dax was only 9. First I thought it would be weird, but Jolene turned out to be amazing. Never tried to replace my mom, but she was always there for me. Dax and I became really close too. He was like the little brother I never had. My mother took longer to move on. She remarried 3 years after the divorce to a guy named Vernon. He had a daughter named Lissa who was 2 years older than me, so she was 17 when they got married. I was 15 at the time, and honestly I never clicked with either of them. Vernon was always cold to me, and Lissa acted like I was invading her space. It felt like I was the outsider in that. The whole situation made me dread those 2 months with my mother. While I was at Dad and Jolene's place, I felt like part of a real family. Jolene would help me with homework. Dax would bug me to play video games with him. And Dad seemed happier than he'd been in years. But at Mom's place, I felt like I was walking on eggshells all the time. When I was 16, I finally worked up the courage to talk to my mother about it. "Mom, I think I want to live with Dad full-time." I told her one evening. Expected her to be upset or argue with me, but instead she just nodded and said, "If that's what you want, Ellison." Looking back, I swear she looked relieved, like I was some burden she didn't want to deal with anymore. It hurt, but I was also glad to finally have stability in my life. So I moved in with Dad, Jolene, and Dax permanently. I still saw my mother occasionally, but we mostly just texted each other. She seemed more interested in Lissa anyway, especially after Lissa got married and had a kid. Mother became a full-time grandmother, always posting pictures of Lissa's daughter on Facebook and talking about how proud she was. I graduated high school while living with Dad and Jolene. They both pushed me to go to college, and when I decided on chemistry, they offered to pay for it. "We believe in you, Ellison," Jolene told me. "This is an investment in your future." My mother didn't even come to my graduation ceremony. College was great. I loved studying chemistry, and it led to my current job. In cosmetics, the science behind skincare products fascinated me, and I was good at it. Really good. After I graduated, I got hired at this high-end company, and my salary started climbing fast. During college and after, I barely talked to my mother. She was completely wrapped up in Lissa's life and her granddaughter. I figured she didn't need me around. And honestly, I was building my own life with a family that actually cared about me. But then 2 years ago, something weird happened. My mother called me out of nowhere. "Ellison, I miss you," she said. "I think we should try to have a relationship again." I was suspicious at first, but I agreed to meet her for coffee. She seemed different, more interested in my life. She asked about my job, my apartment, how much money I was making. I thought maybe she finally wanted to be a real mother to me. We started talking regularly again. She'd call me every few weeks, always asking how work was going, if I was saving money, if I needed anything. Sometimes she'd mention that she was having financial troubles, and I'd send her some money. Not huge amounts, but enough to help with her electric bill or groceries. I thought I was being a good daughter. Now, sitting in my apartment on a Friday night, I'm excited about this lake house idea. I want to share it with the people who matter most to me. Dad, Jolene, and Dax. Dax is 28 now and has his own place, but we're still close. I know they'll be happy for me. Tomorrow I'm going over to Dad and Jolene's for dinner. I can't wait to tell them about my plan. I've been looking at listings online, and there are some beautiful properties within driving distance of the city. Nothing too fancy, just a cozy place where I can relax and maybe have them visit on weekends. Saturday evening at Dad and Jolene's house was perfect. I walked into their familiar kitchen, smelling Jolene's famous pot roast cooking in the oven. Dad gave me his usual bear hug, and Jolene kissed my cheek like she always did. "You look excited about something," Jolene said, pouring me a glass of the wine I brought. "What's going on?" I couldn't contain my grin. "I've been thinking about buying a country house by the lake." Dad's face lit up immediately. "Ellison, that's fantastic. You've worked so hard for this." "Really?" I felt like a little kid again, seeking their approval. "I mean, it's a big purchase, but I've been saving, and with my salary now I can handle the mortgage." Jolene clapped her hands together. "Oh honey, we're so proud of you. Lake house sounds absolutely wonderful. The best part is you guys can come visit whenever you want," I said. "And Dax too with his girlfriend. We could have family weekends there." We spent the whole dinner talking about it. Jolene asked about the area I was looking at. Dad wanted to know about the fishing, and I showed them pictures on my phone of some properties I'd found online. They were genuinely excited for me, asking all the right questions and offering to help with anything I needed. "This is such a smart investment," Jolene said as we cleared the dishes. "And you deserve to have a place where you can really relax." I keep thinking about sitting on the porch in the morning with coffee, watching the sunrise over the water, I told them. "That sounds like heaven," Dad said. "Your mother would be proud." I paused for a second. My mother. I hadn't even thought about telling her yet. Actually, I'm having dinner with her next week. I'll tell her then. The following Saturday, I drove to my mother's house. It felt strange walking to the front door. I'd been there plenty of times in the past 2 years since we reconnected, but it never felt like home the way Dad's place did. My mother greeted me with a hug, and I could smell her perfume, the same one she'd worn for years. Vernon was there as quiet as always, and Lissa was visiting with her 11-year-old daughter, May Lai. "Ellison," Lissa called out in that fake, cheerful voice she used. "How's work going? Still making the big bucks?" "It's going well," I said, sitting down at the dinner table. May Lai was coloring in a book, barely looking up when I said hello. Mom served her usual lasagna, and we made small talk for a while. Vernon talked about his job at the hardware store. Lissa complained about her husband working too many hours, and May Lai asked for more juice every 5 minutes. Finally, I couldn't wait anymore. I have some exciting news to share with everyone. I've decided to buy a country house by the lake. I've been saving up and I think it's time for me to invest in something like this. But instead of the happy reaction I got from Dad and Jolene, my mother's eyes got this weird gleam in them. She set down her fork and stared at me. "Lake house," she said slowly. "How wonderful." Then she got this look on her face that I'd never seen before. Like she was calculating something, you know? She said, leaning forward. "My 60th birthday is in 4 months. This could be perfect timing. You could give me the house as a birthday gift. It would be such a generous present and we could all use it. You could still come there on weekends." Of course, I nearly choked on my water. "Mom, that's a really expensive gift. I was planning to buy this house for myself." Her face fell immediately. "For yourself? But Ellison, think about how nice it would be for all of us to have a place to go. Vernon and Lissa and May Lai could use it too. I mean, you're all welcome to visit," I said carefully. "But I want to own it myself." Lissa snorted. "Come on, Ellison. You make good money. Don't be greedy with Mom." "It's not about being greedy," I said, feeling my cheeks getting hot. "It's just a reasonable decision. House is a huge gift." My mother's expression turned cold. "I think you should think very carefully about what I've asked you, Ellison. Family should come first." The rest of dinner was awkward. My mother changed the subject and acted normal, but I could feel the tension in the room. Vernon kept giving me disapproving looks, and Lissa had the smug smile like she thought I was being ridiculous. When I got home that night, I poured myself a large glass of wine and sat on my couch trying to process what had just happened. My mother expected me to buy her a house that would probably cost over $360,000. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I'd worked my ass off to get where I was. I'd saved every penny I could, lived carefully, and planned for this purchase. And she thought I should just hand it over to her as a birthday present. I thought about all the times I'd sent her money over the past 2 years. $40 here, $120 there. I thought I was helping my mother out of love, but now I wondered if she'd been testing me, seeing how much she could get from me. By the time I finished my wine, I'd made my decision. I was not giving my mother a house. It was completely inappropriate for her to ask for something so expensive. If she wanted a lake house, she could save up and buy one herself. I felt better after making that choice. Next morning I called my friend Mason, who works as a realtor. Hey, remember how I mentioned wanting to look at lake properties? I think I'm ready to get serious about this. Absolutely, he said. I'll start pulling together some listings. What's your budget looking like? We talked for an hour about what I wanted. Something cozy, not too big, good lake access within an hour of the city. Mason promised to call me as soon as he found some good options. 2 months later, Mason called me with excitement in his voice. Ellison, I found your house. It's perfect for what you described, and it just came on the market. I drove out that same day to look at it. The moment I saw it, I knew Mason was right. It was a small 2-bedroom cottage with a wraparound porch sitting on a beautiful lot right on the lake. The price was at the top of my budget, but with a mortgage I could make it work. I want it, I told Mason before we even finished the tour. 3 weeks later I was standing in front of my new lake house, holding the keys in my hand. I couldn't believe it was actually mine. The mortgage paperwork was signed, the deal was closed, and I owned a house on the lake. I took a selfie of myself standing in front of the house and posted it on Facebook with a caption, "Dreams do come true. Finally got my lake house." I was inside exploring my new place when my phone rang. It was my mother. "Ellison, I just saw your post." My mother's voice came through the phone, sharp and angry. "Didn't you consult me before buying a house?" I stopped walking around my new living room and stared out at the lake. "Consult you? Why would I need to do that?" "Because I'm going to get this house anyway," she said like it was obvious. "You're lucky I like this one." I sighed heavily. "Mom, we already talked about this. I'm not giving you my house as a birthday present. You're being selfish, Ellison." She snapped. "I've been dreaming of a country house for years. You have plenty of money and this would mean everything to me." Then she started crying. Actually crying like a child having a tantrum. "I can't believe my own daughter won't do this one thing for me." A sob. Before I could even respond, she hung up on me. I stared at my phone for a minute, then shook my head and put it away. This was ridiculous. I wasn't calling her back to deal with her manipulation. 2 weeks later, I was back at Dad and Jolene's for dinner. I needed to tell them about what happened with my mother. "That's completely unacceptable," Jolene said, shaking her head. "Ellison, please tell me you're not considering this." "Of course not," I said, "but she's been sending me messages constantly. Look at this." I showed them some of the texts my mother had been sending. Message after message about how tired she was of city life, how she deserved a place to relax, how I should think about family first. "This is emotional blackmail," Jolene said firmly. "Don't you dare give in to this." Dad was quiet for a minute, then looked me seriously. "Ellison, your mother has never put you first. Not when you were a kid. Not now. You don't owe her a house." Their support made me feel stronger. I'd been ignoring most of my mother's messages, only responding to the ones that weren't about the house. But as her birthday got closer, the messages got worse. Finally, the day of her 60th birthday party arrived. I decided to give her a nice gift, something meaningful but reasonable. I went to a car dealership and bought her a small used car, nothing Fancy, but newer than what she was driving and in good condition. It cost me about $16,500, which I thought was generous. I had them wrap the keys in a small jewelry box. The car would stay at the dealership until after the party. Then we'd go pick it up together. When I arrived at my mother's house for the party, she hugged me and seemed genuinely happy to see me. All her friends were there, plus Vernon's family and some neighbors I recognized. "Ellison, sweetheart, come sit here," she said, guiding me to a chair right next to hers. "I saved you the best seat." She leaned over and whispered, "I really hope this gift is going to be good." I just smiled and didn't say anything. Let her wonder. The party went on for a while. Cake, small talk, people telling stories about my mother. I felt awkward the whole time, but I tried to be polite. Finally, it was time for presents. My mother stood up and tapped her wine glass with a fork. Everyone, I have something exciting to share," she announced. "My daughter Ellison has a very special surprise for me tonight." My stomach dropped. What was she doing? "Ellison has decided to give me her beautiful new lake house for my birthday," she said proudly. The whole room burst into applause. People were congratulating her, saying how lucky she was to have such a generous daughter. I sat there frozen, watching this nightmare unfold. My mother looked at me expectantly, waiting for me to stand up and confirm what she just said. But I wasn't going to play this game. I stood up slowly and handed her the small box. "The keys to the lake house aren't in here, Mom. But I think you'll like what I got you instead." Her face went from excited to confused to furious in about 3 seconds. She grabbed the box from my hands and stormed out of the living room. I could hear her in the kitchen, and then she came back empty-handed. "I threw it in the trash," she said coldly. "There's no place here for greed and selfishness. Get out." Some of the guests looked uncomfortable. A few tried to make small talk to cover the awkwardness. But Vernon and Lissa were nodding like they approved of what my mother had done. "You really embarrassed yourself tonight, Ellison," Lissa said with that nasty smile of hers. I didn't say a word. I got up from my chair, walked into the kitchen, and pulled the small box out of the trash can. It wasn't even opened. Then I left through the actual front door. When I got home, I was shaking. "Called Jolene immediately. She threw your gift in the trash." Jolene's voice was furious. "Without even opening it. Ellison, I'm so sorry." I started crying then, telling her everything that had happened. How my mother had announced to everyone that I was giving her the house. How she'd humiliated me in front of all those people. How she'd thrown away a $16,500 gift without even looking at it. "I want to call her right now and give her a piece of my mind," Jolene said. "Please don't," I said. "I just want to be done with this." After I hung up, I sat in my apartment holding the box with the car keys inside. What was I supposed to do with a car now? I thought about returning it and getting my money back. But then I had a better idea. The next morning, I drove to Dad and Jolene's house with the car keys in my pocket. "Jolene," I said when she opened the door, "I have something for you." I handed her the box. This was supposed to be my mother's birthday gift. She threw it away without even opening it. "But I want you to have it because you're the one who's been a real mother to me." Jolene opened the box and saw the car keys. Her eyes filled with tears. "Ellison, you can't give me a car," she whispered. "Yes, I can," I said. "You've done more for me than my real mother ever did. You deserve this." She started crying and hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. "I love you so much, sweetheart." We drove to the dealership together and picked up the car. It was perfect for Jolene, small enough for her to feel comfortable driving, but reliable and safe. I took a photo of her standing next to it, looking so happy and surprised. When I got home, I posted the photo on Facebook with a caption, "When your real mother rejects a gift, you give it to someone who actually deserves it." This car is now in the right hands. The next morning, my phone started ringing at 7 a.m. It was my mother calling over and over again. I ignored every single call. When she realized I wasn't picking up, the text messages started flooding in. "Listen, you need to give me that car. It was my birthday gift. I can't believe you would do this to your own mother. That car belongs to me. You're stealing from me. I deleted every message without responding. She'd made her choice when she threw the gift in the trash without even opening it. 2 days later, I was at home after work making dinner and trying to relax when someone started pounding on my apartment door. I looked through the peephole and saw my mother and Lisa standing there, both looking furious. Knew I had to face this eventually. Open the door. How could you do this to me? My mother screamed, pushing past me into my apartment. Lisa followed, slamming the door behind her. You lied to everyone, Lisa yelled. You made Mom look like a fool and then you gave away her gift. Actually laughed. I couldn't help it. Her gift. She threw it in the trash can. I didn't know what was in the box. My mother said. You should have told me. Shrugged. You showed me exactly how much you love me, Mom. You threw away my gift without even looking at it. All you cared about was getting that house. That's not true, she started to say, but then she stopped. I guess she realized how fake that sounded. You know what, she said, dropping the act completely. Fine, I'll sue you. I'll take you to court and get that car back. I burst out laughing again. Good luck with that. I have photos of you throwing my gift in the trash, plus about 20 witnesses who saw you do it. Her face went white. Hadn't thought about that. I was joking about the court thing, she said quickly. But you have to give me back my car. I'm your real mother, not that stepmother of yours. Jolene loves me, I said firmly. You only love my money. That's the difference. That's not true, she cried, actually starting to tear up again. Love you. No, you don't, I said calmly. If you loved me, you would have been happy about my house. Instead, you tried to take it from me. You threw away a $16,500 gift because it wasn't expensive. Enough for you. Lisa stepped forward. You're being ridiculous, Ellison. Mom deserves that car more than your stepmother does. Get out, I said, pointing at the door, both of you. And don't contact me again. They left finally. My mother was still crying and Lisa was muttering about how ungrateful I was. I locked the door behind them and poured myself a very large glass of wine. That was 8 months ago. I haven't spoken to my mother, Lisa, or Vernon since that night. My mother tried calling and texting for a few weeks, but I blocked her number. Eventually she gave up. My life is so much better now. I spend weekends at my lake house, reading on the porch and swimming in the lake. Dad and Jolene come visit all the time. Jolene loves driving her car up there. She says it makes her feel independent. Dax brings his girlfriend May Lai there too. They love sitting by the fire pit at night, making s'mores and talking about their future. Last month, Dax asked if he could propose to May Lai at the lake house. Course I told him this. Place is for family. He proposed to her on the dock at sunset and she said yes. Now they're planning their wedding and Dax asked if they could have the ceremony at the lake house too. I'm so excited to help them plan it. Jolene's already talking about decorating the porch with flowers and setting up tables on the lawn. Dad wants to string lights between the trees. It's going to be beautiful. Sometimes I think about my mother and wonder if she ever regrets what she did. But honestly, I don't miss the drama. Don't miss her constant demands for money or her guilt trips about family obligations. I don't miss feeling like I was never good enough unless I was writing her a check. Jolene calls me every week just to chat. Not to ask for anything, just to see how I'm doing. Dad texts me funny memes and pictures of fish he caught. Dax sends me photos of wedding venues and asks for my opinion. This is what real family feels like. The funny thing is, if Mom had just been happy for me about the house, if she had been supportive like a real mother should be, I probably would have invited her to visit all the time. She could have enjoyed the lake house without owning it. But she couldn't stand the idea of me having something she didn't control. Last weekend, Jolene and I were sitting on the porch at sunset, drinking wine and watching the water. She was telling me about some book she was reading, and I was just listening to her voice and feeling grateful. You know what I love most about this place? I said. What's that, honey? It's full of people who actually want to be here with me, not just people who want something from me. Jolene squeezed my hand. You deserve that, Ellison. You deserve to be loved for who you are, not what you can give people. She's right. I spent too many years trying to buy my mother's love, sending her money whenever she asked, hoping she would finally see me as more than just a bank account. But some people will never change. Now I'm surrounded by family who chose to love me. Jolene didn't have to be good to me when she married my father, but she chose to treat me like her own daughter. Dad could have taken my mother's side in all this drama, but he chose to support me. Dax could have stayed neutral, but he chose to celebrate my success. These are the people who matter. These are the people who will be at his wedding next summer, dancing under the stars at my lake house. My real family and my mother. She's still driving her old car still. Living in that house with Vernon and Lissa, still probably complaining about how unfair life is. But that's not my problem anymore. I'm done trying to earn love from people who don't want to give it. I'm done feeling guilty for having nice things that I worked hard for. I'm done being manipulated by tears and guilt trips.